Welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. I'm James McGowan,
I'm Jessica Faust.
and our topic today is how not to connect with an agent on social media. Most communications on Twitter are normal.
Or Instagram or anywhere. I feel most of it is normal.
Right. There is just a small percentage of tweets and people that can take it like a step too far.
Well, for me, it's not even the, you've crossed a line kind of thing. I found lately that my DMs, my direct messages, are really filling up in a way that I can't manage. I can't respond to every direct message that asks me if you'd like to see my book or, can I query you, or a query.
Well, that's the number one rule. That is the number one thing that no author should do on social media with an agent. Can you take a look at this? Will you consider this? Is this something that seems like it's up your alley? Because the easiest way to figure that out is to just send your query. It's called pre-querying. Well, we call it pre-querying, and we've done a video on it, and we don't think any author should ever do it. Just send your query if they fit your book.
I guess what I would ask you is, do you ever really see a reason why an author needs to DM an agent?
So I've had my DMs open nearly all year, and I do answer questions that pop up to the extent that I can. I don't typically answer questions like, can I query you? I'll just say, here's my query manager link or something like that if I get the chance. But I have answered questions, especially from the picture book community, because I feel like I talk to them all often on social media. So I do answer some questions, but you've really got to be able to not find that answer somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the that's why Google exists. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to put you on some sort of list if you DM me. Most of the time, I'm just not going to answer it because most of the time I just don't have the time. When I go on Instagram or on Twitter, I will check notifications. I will make a post. I will sort of scroll through to see what's going on in the world, and then I move on. If I go into DMs, the other day I went in, I had 25 DMs.
Oh, that's crazy.
And that could take me more than an hour to respond.
I never get that many.
Especially since the truth is, my response would typically be, the information can be found on our website or on YouTube, and my website is in the bio of all of my social media.
Right. Yeah, I never get that many. Now I'm scared, having said it in this video, that I might get that many, but I don't really feel that there's ever a need, especially for us at BookEnds, right? Like, we are pretty open book. We have everything that you could possibly need. Some point in our 15 years on the blog, some point in our 3 years on YouTube, or maybe even a post on Instagram. So I feel like what you're looking for, you can find about us on Instagram. So I would suggest, on social media, but I would suggest only getting in touch if you really have a question, if you need a little bit of advice. I am open to that, but I know every agent is not.
What I would say to that is, if you really feel like you need to ask, whether it's DM or asking, sometimes I'll get people who on an Instagram post or on a tweet will ask the question rather than going into DMs. And my Twitter DMs have always been open. I've never closed those. So that's usually not a problem. But what I would say is, if you don't get an answer, don't let that stop you. In other words, still query. Don't assume anything about the agent's non-response other than the agent didn't have time or the agent didn't even see it.
I know for me, they all fall into message requests, and I don't check those every day. I don't even check those every week. Sometimes I will just see the little one and I'll click on it, and then I'll see a whole bunch of messages that I never saw. So, again, if it's super important and you need a response, see if you can find that information somewhere else first.
Yeah. And I would say, in terms of sort of the mistakes that people can make on social media and how they can, sort of put themselves on a list where no agent's going to talk to them again, anybody watching this video is probably not doing that.
True. I think that there's a very, very, very small number of people on social media that do that. I tend not to block anyone. There has been a certain publishing troll on my page that everybody in publishing probably knows of by now that sure I've blocked, but everybody else I will just kind of ignore if I don't want to respond to it or if it makes me uncomfortable. I will just try to ignore it.
Yeah, I'm not much of a blocker either.
Yeah.
Sure, I've done it, but for the most part, I mean, but I also think my social media has changed. I'm not on Twitter like I used to be, so I do miss a
Right.
lot more.
Yeah, I have also taken a step back from Twitter just in terms of the time I spend on it. And my algorithm has changed. The people who show up on it have changed. And sort of how long I spend scrolling through that timeline has definitely changed.
Yeah.
So I mean, many agents will sign on to Twitter at any given point and have 20 plus notifications, and I don't sort through them all. It's too much.
You know, it's interesting too when you mention the algorithms for both Twitter and Instagram, because I think often people get upset because their agent or their publisher didn't retweet them or repost their Instagram post or like it or comment on it. And the truth is, there's a lot we don't see. I
Oh, a
mean,
ton.
we are all, as people, creatures of habit. And so there's a good chance that if we're getting on Twitter, we're all kind of doing it at the same time. Not, I mean, all of us at the same time. Like I might be doing it at 2 o'clock and you might be at 6 o'clock every day. We may never really see each other on there
Right.
because our paths don't cross.
I mean, just in terms of the agents at BookEnds, I very rarely see any of you on my timeline. I don't see much.
We talk about this all the time about the Twitter bubble.
Yeah.
And we talk about Twitter because Twitter is where most of the drama happens. There's not a lot of drama on Instagram.
Right.
And we will talk about this at Bookends because somebody will say, oh, did you see on Instagram or on Twitter, blah, 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 blah. And I will go onto my Twitter and I'll be like, no, my Twitter is really nice today.
Yeah.
I see nothing. And I will have to dig and look and figure out who to search for. And I still sometimes can't find it. And that's one thing to really keep in mind with Twitter is sometimes we all get caught up, and yet there's a very small percentage of people actually on Twitter. Like I don't think I have any friends on Twitter outside of publishing.
Yeah, me neither.
So when you think about that, think about how small that bubble is.
It really is. And I mean, in terms of interacting with the agent, there's going to be so many interactions that might be missed. And that doesn't mean that you're bothersome at all. It
No,
just
not at
means
all.
that that agent's not on Twitter at this time or didn't see it at this time. And just remember the sheer volume. For many agents, they're followed by thousands of people.
Yeah.
And we don't see everything. We get a lot of like, even if it's just a like notification, they fill up your notification feed and we might miss it. But like in terms of what you can do to really bother an agent, it's going to be different for each agent, but I don't see that like normal communication, liking, commenting on their tweets, something like that is ever really going to do the trick.
No, and I mean, for me personally, I find DMs in any format difficult because you're asking me to take extra steps. For me, if you want to make a comment or ask me a question, you're better off doing it on an Instagram post or on a tweet where it comes through my notifications and I happen to go there anyway. If you're sending me a DM, now I have to go to the DMs and it feels more personal than maybe I want with somebody I don't know.
Something to also consider too is that if we open the DM and accept it, you can then query and DM us at any time. So
Yeah.
it is something that I'm a little more cautious about because I'd never want to seem like I'm ignoring someone. But if you continuously DM me over random stuff, I mean, I can't answer that all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, every time I get a message, I consider whether I want to accept or just read it and decline
Yeah.
because
And I don't accept a lot of them on Instagram anyway. I don't accept a lot of them anywhere really.
no, and I mean, even if somebody replies to your story or shares your story to their story, then you get a DM request, and then if you
Yeah.
accept that, they can DM you at any point.
But again, I
So
think the important thing to remember is if you're talking literary agents, they can be easily found through the way they prefer to be found, which is usually through querying. So if you know, The reason we all have Query Manager or query emails or whatever it is because that's the way we prefer authors to communicate with us.
Right. Social media is meant to be social. And signing on and just having all of these work requests aren't always the best way for me to spend my time.
Nope.
So I think in terms of interacting with an agent, just be social and interact with them as they are using that platform. And that's really all that you necessarily need.
Yep. Agreed.
So we hope that was helpful. I think we kind of rambled on that one and just went all around it.
Well, we'll see you on Twitter and Instagram, I guess.
Well, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you back here next week.
Bye.